First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Mark at Rhodes Home. If you haven't watched the latest video, then please pop on over and watch Mark's latest video, which is he talks about what now after his latest protest in Morecambe about the erosion of park-ups around the UK. Now, he's focused on Morecambe, but it wasn't about Morecambe seafront. It was about the erosion of Vanlife Freedom to park up and live our lives as we want to across the UK. It's being attacked all over the place, and you'll see many videos from YouTubers, both full-time and part-time van lifers, wanting to sort of raise the awareness, if you like, of the bans that are coming in. There's a ban coming in at Morecambe seafront, or they're looking at doing that. The ban on overnight parking for motorhomes only in Arundel, and these things are happening all over the place. I think there's some bans going on in Bridlington for pub stops and so on and so on. It's happening everywhere. Little by little, our van life freedom is being eroded, and I don't think that's a good thing. So I'd urge you to pop on over to Rhodes Home, have a look at that, because what Mark is trying to do is to create a movement, if you like, create a movement to bring to the attention of local councils all over the place that the fact that, you know, just banning motorhome parking is not really the answer. You get one or two complaints about, oh, you know, the motorhome people or the van life people are causing an awful mess, when actually we don't. The evidence is that we've gathered is that we don't cause a mess. We're pretty clean and tidy community. Indeed, where we were a few weeks ago, there was a lot of sort of almost building rubble had been dumped behind a barrier at a park up we were at. We spent an afternoon and a lot of rubbish bags just clearing that up and putting it in a bin across the way where we were. So there were some sort of rubbish bins. Luckily, they're covered by CCTV, and obviously they're monitored. So a truck came out and collected it all up and took it away. It was really great. But that, you know, we're van lifers, and we cleaned up. So that sort of stuff is happening all over. But what are we protesting about? Mark put this protest together in Morecambe, got about 40 or 50 vans. Unfortunately, we would have loved to have gone, but we just had other commitments in Sussex, and Morecambe's a bit of a drive, so we couldn't go there for just a few hours. But he did a protest outside the council offices. Had between 30 and 50 vans parked up, and they did a sort of convoy around the town. It actually raised some really good attention from a local councillor who I think is in the minority, but you'll see it on Mark's video. The guy he's on the town council, and his view is actually what they should be doing is providing services, and maybe those services have a little bit of a payment attached to them and so on. I mean, one of the things that we've found recently is, you people often ask, well, where do you fill up with water? But Springing Up across the country is a company that offers fresh water fill up. I think it's initially or primarily aimed at window cleaners, but it's fresh drinking water. So I don't know what else you'd call it, but it pay as you go. I think it's about 6.5 pence a litre. So you can rock up at one of their big containers, like a petrol pump, put it in your water fill up and fill up for as much as you want. So maybe if you're getting 100 litres, you're really filling up. It's going to be about £6, 2 pence a litre cheaper if you sign up for an account. I don't know what that means, but I'll put the website on screen here so that you'll know what the company is, and they've got a map, so you can do a bit of a search for where you are, and you can see how many of those they've got around. Great service. But the erosion of park-ups on the road across the UK is a real thing. Now, I know many people are saying, oh, well, we don't have a problem, because we find a little back street, blah, blah, blah. But that's okay until it's not, because it's sort of like a creeping tide. It creeps up on you, and then you go back to a place and it's like, oh, no parking. Well, what do you do then? Other people have said, well, you can park in the supermarket car parks with the My Parking Space app. But once, I remember having a small corner shop that was doing okay until the big supermarkets came and scooped up all of the trade, and now the supermarkets charge what they want. Maybe they charge for parking, whereas just one of those things, isn't it? You get these big corporates, they swoop in, give you cheap stuff, and then all of a sudden, when there's no other option, the price goes up. It's just a way of business. So I don't blame them from doing that, but it is something that we need to bear in mind and keep our guard up against that. So my thinking is, well, what are we protesting? I think it's the protest. The protest is more around our van life freedom. We live in a van. You don't have a fixed address. Maybe you do, but you're not there. You want to maintain that freedom, and why shouldn't we have the freedom to live the way we want to live? After all, we pay the road tax for the vans, we pay the tax on fuel, we buy stuff, we pay VAT, taxes, we buy insurance, there's insurance tax. And in some places they're even introducing a blooming tourist tax. I'm dead against that. I think that'll drive tourism away and hurt small business. Because when we go touring around and we park up in a small town or village, we use the local shops and pubs and cafes and so on. So they gain from our money. If there was a tourism tax on that town, we just wouldn't go. So that's sort of what I think we're protesting about and what we want to push back on. But what do we need? What is it that van lifers need? A, the freedom to travel wherever we want to go, just like normal drivers. People who travel in cars or vans, work vans, bicycles, motorhomes and camper vans. We should all be allowed to travel wherever we want to go. And in Mark's Road Home's video, he mentioned the sort of 15-minute city thing, and I'm really not sure about that. I don't think that works. You're only allowed to go sort of 15 minutes from where you live. Well, what if we live in our van? How are we affected? Do we get charged wherever we go? So we need to think about that. So we need that freedom to travel. There are protected categories of people in law, in legal. They're designated gypsies and travellers. I think there's another group, but it's not nomadic people as we are. I think van life people are more nomadic than gypsy. I think you need to be a sort of an ethnic culture to be a gypsy or protected group of people. So we need the freedom to travel. We also need to be able to get fresh drinking water, or fresh water at least. We can buy drinking water in bottles, which that's what we do. We only drink from bottled water. There are those machines where you can fill up with water that I've mentioned already. I'll be filling up with one of those pretty soon, in the next few weeks, just to show you how they work, so that I think if you watch the channel Amazing Grace, who's also a van lifer around the sort of Sussex southern area, he's done a video on filling up there, because I know he does fill up at those. And what else? And more importantly, I think, is waste disposal. Where do you throw your rubbish away? And there's so much rubbish these days, because any food or items you buy smothered in packaging, so there's a lot more to get rid of. Grey water, and that's the water from the washing up sink and the showers and that. So it's sort of dirty, clean, dirty water, if you like. Grey, we call it grey waste. It could go down a surface drain, because I think that would be fine in the UK at least. But it'd be great if we could have a grey waste drain. Super important is if you do use your cassette toilet a lot, you need to empty that every 2 or 3 days. So it'd be great if we could have some chemical toilet disposal points. And I've been thinking about this a lot, and I thought, well, maybe the service stations, the petrol stations around the UK, they've all got, well, they have to have a toilet for staff. Maybe they could be convinced to install chemical toilet waste points for a charge. You stick a couple of quid in, or you go in and you pay money and you get a key or something, or whatever. I'm sure there's a way to do it at not too big a cost for them, but that would be an extra little revenue stream. Or maybe you get it if you fill up with fuel, and they could be installed right across the UK if they had a mind to do it, of course. So those are the things that I think we need. Parking on the road. It'd be nice if the van life community could sort of agree, between ourselves, not to park in annoying places. There are some places you'll park and it'll annoy people because it's annoying. Other places that are not so annoying will still annoy the locals, but you can't please everybody, right? But you can park in nice places close to town. I mean, Arundel, which is close to where we are, Mill Road, it's a huge long road. People stayed there for too long, I think, and made it their home. But you could stay there, and I think a better way of restricting that would have been to say you can't stay more than 72 hours. And I think a week's probably too long. 72 hours is about right, I think. 48 hours may be a bit too short for a lot of people to get a feel for an area. And a lot of places in Europe do no more than 72 hours in an air. So, I think 72 hours as a maximum stay for people is a good thing. So, how as a community, as a van life community, especially all of you that are full-time or do a lot of van life out and about, especially while camping, not on campsites, how do we achieve this sort of broad level of awareness and protest, if you like? I'm not a big one for protest, but I think raising the level of awareness, especially about the erosion of freedom, and I think more importantly about what it is that we want and need. So I think that's an important thing. How do we raise awareness? Well, I don't think you can do it individually. I mean, Mark's made a great start, but we all need to help. We need to band together and have a massively coordinated approach to how we move this forward. More gatherings, I think, so where we all get together, and it takes a lot of people to make people notice. I think up to 50 vans is a really good start as a first thing to do. But as Mark says on his last video, we need hundreds. So let's all let the authorities know by banding together, coming together and making our needs known. We need to highlight the discrimination, because, just saying, oh, well, if you've got a bed in your van, you can't park there overnight. Why not? I mean, if I had a car and I slept on the back seat, I could park. Some places say no sleeping, but how can you tell somebody not to sleep? What is a person supposed to do? If you're tired and you can't drive because you're tired, what are you going to do? You're going to go to sleep, aren't you? Those sort of rules are madness, in my view. Absolute madness. Forcing somebody to drive when they're tired to a place, especially if they don't know where they are, not familiar with the area, they're new, yeah, you've got to drive away. Otherwise, you're going to pay £100 fine and you get your van clamped or whatever. Absolute madness. So, as I say, it's not really good enough to have just a few people. And I'm really sorry that we couldn't make it to the Morecambe protest. From what I've seen from the videos, it was a marvellous event, and I'm really looking forward to being able to go to one in the future. As a lot of you know, we spend 90 days in the UK, 90 days in Europe, and then again. So, I'm hoping that there'll be some when we get back from our next jaunt up to Sweden in about September, which would be great. I think it takes a long time and a lot of tenacity and dogged determination from all of us, from all of you who are interested in protecting our freedom to do what we love to do. I think we all need to stick to it and really make our voices heard. I'm trying to work with Mark to help promote and, you know, get the word out there. I'm hoping that if other van life full-timers are watching this, contact Mark or contact me, and, you know, maybe we can put a core group together that can drive this forward as a protest. I really hope that can happen with Mark. Mark's such a great guy. He's just really pushed this forward so much. I really appreciate it. And I think you will too, if you watch those videos of his. You know, and he's really got a nice way about doing it. He's not aggressive at all. He sort of speaks in the video, the one before last, when he speaks to the councillor. He's got a nice sort of friendly, jovial way of putting the point across. Really great. So, what do we do now? Watch out for more news coming from Roads Home and us, the Happy Travellers. We'll be putting out videos, I hope, on a regular basis, promoting the idea that we should make our voices heard. And look out for any information on social media, Facebook, X, and on YouTube, of course, for any events that are coming up that will draw us all together to put on the next big protest where we can all make our voices heard and try as a group to provide the solutions that the councils can get on board with. They're not all against us, they just don't know what else to do. So there is a chance that if we come up with options for them to put in place, that they'll find the way of doing it. We need to help them to help us. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. I hope this wasn't too much of a rant. I'm really looking forward to providing those solutions and for all you guys to come on board and offer your help, guidance, ideas, and all your input. Let's get together and make it happen. I'll see you again in the next one. Bye-bye.